Welcome back to the 2 Minute Warning, episode 420 today, back on the topic of the NFL. Going to be looking at whether or not we think the Cincinnati Bengals can win the AFC North. Obviously, it's going to take a good year from Joe Burrow, but I do think that Joe Burrow can have a good season. So we'll see. Today we're going to be talking about whether or not they can win their division. But first, question today, and that is which ex-Bengals receiver is now a commentator for Sunday Night Football? Again, if you know the answer, comment below, and if you don't, stick around to the end of the video, and we will discuss it then. But Jay, do you honestly think that even if Joe Burrow, or do you think Joe Burrow can have a good enough year, and do you think the Bengals can win the AFC North?
My short answer is going to be 100% no. If somehow, some way,
100% no.
Joe Burrow pulls this off, I don't know how he doesn't win MVP along the way.
Yeah.
Like, it's not the fact of does Joe Burrow have the talent to do it. I do think he does. Obviously, there's a scenario of how he will be bouncing back from the injury, so that is a factor. But assuming he's going to be the same guy, I do think he has enough talent to win that division in the future. But this year, I just think it's too soon. Even this year, I think long term, you could make the argument that Joe Burrow is the best quarterback in that division. Big Ben probably got 1, maybe 2 more years. I'm taking Joe Burrow over Baker Mayfield and Lamar Jackson. I would take Joe Burrow in one season today. Next 10, 15 years, I'm investing in Burrow over Jackson in that division. So that is a good point to have for the Bengals, but outside of the quarterback position, it gets ugly. You could say the next strongest point for the Bengals would possibly be their secondary and Jesse Bates, one of the top safeties in the league, along with Von Bell, really along with that division. Not sure how it ranks against the other ones when you got the Ravens secondary having Jimmy Smith, Marlon Humphreys, Marcus Peters. Steelers got Minka Fitzpatrick and Joe Hayden. Browns got lockdown Denzel Ward. So secondary is not the greatest receiving core. I like T. Higgins and I like Tyler Boyd, but you're going to lose A.J. Green. You're going to lose John Ross. You don't have much of a tight end. And then you got the Steelers who have an emerging Chase Claypool. Juju Smith's probably going to be back. Eric Ebron. Ravens, you can win that category right there because all they got is really Hollywood Brown, who's a whole 5'9", and Des Bryant's not going to be coming back. I like Mark Andrews, but this Ravens receiving core is not great. Then the Browns receiving core, solid. Odell Beckham, Austin Hooper, David Njoku, Jarvis Landry. However, I just don't think the Bengals really out-edge anyone in an important factor. Offensive line, we know that's an issue. That's why Joe Burrow didn't play this year. Browns had the best offensive line in the NFL, or at least the highest paid. So no matter how you want to rank it, they probably got a top 3 offensive line at the worst. So just overall, I just don't see a category the Bengals outrank the other teams in the division, just especially with the 6 games we'll have to play within against each other and a tough road ahead, playing the Packers division in the NFC North and playing the AFC West, having to face Mahomes and then Justin Herbert. I'm excited for that game just to see the 2 rookie quarterback rivalry, but that's really not the point of the video. I just think it's a too tough a schedule and too many holes on that Bengals team to go out and win the division, but Joe Burrow pulls it off. Every amount of credit definitely goes to him.
Yeah, honestly, I think my answer is going to be definitely not this coming season. It is possible for the future. With, like Jay said, Big Ben really down to probably his last season, which I guess we said that this year, but I guess he's coming back for one more. And then Lamar and the Ravens, who, no matter what you want to say about Lamar, it seems like the Ravens are going to come out and win 10 games, minimum, maybe 11, based off what they've done the last couple of seasons. And then the Browns, I think, are going to be better than they were last year and probably win. They probably won 11 this year, so probably win 11 again, in my opinion. So that leaves the Bengals needing to win 11 games. I simply don't see that happening. Joe Burrow is good enough probably in himself, but when you look at the Bengals O-line, not good. The Bengals backfield, not really good. Their receiving core, solid. Their defense, like you said, Bates at safety, but for the most part, defense, not great. So, I really don't think, and I don't think the Steelers, if you look at who else is in the division, Steelers probably not going to have a great season. The Browns, like I said, I do think will win 11 games, and so will the Ravens.
Yeah,
so
not necessarily saying they're going to finish last.
Right. Absolutely. I do think that they have a chance to win. Well, I don't know. I
don't think they'll make the playoffs,
yes.
But I wouldn't be surprised if the Steelers dropped way down and the Bengals somehow edged them out for 3rd place.
Right. I could see the Bengals winning 9 games.
Yeah.
If Joe Burrow has a good year, but then who's going to lose? Who's going to win only 8 games that division?
Yeah.
Probably Pittsburgh, if anybody. So, in all honesty, the Bengals could win 9 games and still end up finishing last in that division. Well, but I do think that winning the division at least this next year is certainly out of the question. The Bengals need to do more rebuilding. Both sides of the football.
Like I said, we went through every category, and really the Bengals just struggle with injuries and off-season. They can develop and fix a lot of holes they have. They could fix the offensive line, draft Penny Sewell or Rashawn Slater, whichever is available, or they could go for Kyle Pitts or Jamar Chase and give Joe Burrow an extra weapon. Run game you could pick up in the 2nd round. Joe Mixon I like, but he's very injury prone and inconsistent. I guess when he's healthy, you could say he's better than the Steelers' run game and James Conner. And the Browns, though, you're not going to beat Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt and Gus Edwards on the Ravens and even have to consider Lamar part of that run game. So at best, they're probably third in running for that division. And then coaching as well. I like that they're giving Zach Taylor one more chance, but I'm not really going to say he's better than John Harbaugh or Mike Tomlin or Kevin Stefanski for the Browns, who just won Coach of the Year. I like the Bengals, and if this was a team that was in the NFC East, this would be a complete different conversation. But arguably, I think the AFC North is either the toughest or the second toughest division of football, right behind the NFC West with the Seahawks and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and if you think about it, say, I don't know, what did Big Ben just extend 1 year?
I think so.
I believe that he's extended just one season. So theoretically, you could have a Steelers team in 2 years that's starting Dwayne Haskins. You could have a Browns team that, I mean, I guess on paper right now they shouldn't be falling off anytime soon. But you could look at the Ravens, who clearly have not figured out the passing game. That could catch up to them. So maybe in 2 seasons or 2 or 3 seasons, you got the Bengals winning 10 games and being in contention for that division and pushing for a wild card. So I'm going to say next season there's not much hope of winning the division and of course making the playoffs for the Bengals. But in 2 seasons from now, when the Steelers have to figure out what they're going to do for the next starting quarterback, and the Ravens hopefully need to try to figure out a passing game, it could happen then.
Yeah, and really, Big Ben, he's taken the pay cuts. Even this year, even though we said just because the Bengals might not finish last, they still, if I had to bet money, I feel like they still would. Because of Big Ben taking the pay cut, they could fill any hole they have, such as a run game or an extra lineman. When the Bengals, you need to fix every bit of your team, the run game, the offensive lineman, the receiving core, the defense, the pass rush, so on and so forth. Just need a lot of holes. I know no team is perfect, but the Bengals are probably the furthest away from getting a division-winning title out of these 3 teams for sure.
Even if Big Ben, well, even though the fact is that he's old, especially with the pay cut, they're gonna put together a team that can win 10 regular season games minimum.
Especially with that defense and T.J. Watt.
Right. So even with the Steelers and Big Ben being certainly old, I do think they're certainly still going to win 10 games. So next year, Bengals, sorry, but you're not going to be able to win that division.
100%.
All right, guys, that's all for the video. Comment below whether or not you think the Bengals come in the AFC North, because Jay and I are both going to go with no. But that's all for the video. And as far as your question of the day, your ex-Bengals receiver that now does Sunday Night Football is, of course, Chris Collinsworth. Guys, thanks for watching. 2 in the morning.